Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for stopping in with us right here on WKIR. Today we have a very, very special guest in, and I hope you've been paying attention to some of the blogs and the websites and, of course, Facebook pages. But we have in our presence our very own community griot and medical scientist, Dr. I am Spence-Lewis, right here with us today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Mystic, for having me on your community space.
Well, thank you.
And on your community radio. I'm very appreciative to do the outreach here.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of outreach, everybody was paying attention. There's a very, very important topic that, we need to, have a conversation about. And so just to get into it right now, why should African Americans be concerned with malaria and the mosquito vectors? And first of all, maybe just explain to us, because I'm curious as to what a mosquito vector is.
A mosquito vector is any person, object, or place that carries a pathogen or disease from mosquitoes, such as Zika, or malaria, or yellow fever. So we want to stay away from those when we travel.
Okay. And so as African Americans, when we travel abroad, what are some of the things that we should be aware of? About let's just start with the newest thing, Zika.
Zika is a virus, and as yet, even scientists, not even the CDC, knows sufficient about it, although they have done a great deal of research, which I have examined in the literature. And Zika comes from mosquito, and some people are now saying that even is incurred by pesticides in the water.
Oh, wow.
Yes, but it affects babies' brains or head size, and that when they're born, they are born microcephalic. That is, the head is smaller than usual.
What was that word again?
Microcephalic.
Microcephalic.
Cephalic.
Cephalic.
That is, the head is smaller than the average bird. It can also affect the spinal fluid.
Mm-hmm.
And it can also damage the eyesight. So in the literature and in the discussion with the public, for the public, there have been many aspects of Zika that affect people, adults, as well as the fetus.
Okay. Now, can you explain to us what a mobile medical clinic is?
Oh, that's my project that I've been working on for several years. I have planned with others to take a mobile medical dental clinic to Africa. The reason being that many areas of Africa don't have a grid. That is, they don't have access to electricity. They are just now beginning to develop a sustainable energy that is solar energy and wind energy, and that takes certain types of environments. So we thought that those concerned that we take a mobile medical clinic to Africa and train people globally to use it in certain areas within the city.
Okay. Oh man. Now, in one of your studies, you said that there were like over 1,500 reported cases of malaria reported yearly?
Yes, not yearly, but there has been an increase through information from the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, that since the 70s, there has been an increase of 1,500 imported malaria cases in the United States. And for that reason, the government of this country and those that are other people that are entities that are concerned want to decrease that. And imported malaria simply means that it's coming in from other countries. It's coming in, the greatest number comes in from sub-Saharan Africa. Yes, and get a percentage from India, get a percentage from South America.
And what are some of the symptoms of malaria?
Now that depends
Okay.
in that what species the malaria is.
Mm.
The most severe species is Plasmodium falciparum, and that's the one that is known to be a killer if it's been handled properly.
And just for our viewers, one more time, it's called Plasmodium
Yes, falciparum.
falciparum.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a severe type of malaria. And there's also Plasmodium vivax, which is mostly found in throughout India and South America. That is why when a person gets malaria in this country and they take it to the lab for tests, they can find generally where the species is coming from. If they see vivax, then they know the person, and then when they ask certain questions, they know they come from India or from Brazil or from other parts of South America.
I know, not to cut you off,
No,
but
it's
I
fine.
know a lot of men, a lot of black men, recently like to take these vacations and these trips to Brazil because they say that the women are beautiful and plentiful and whatnot. But what coming from Brazil, what should they be looking out for?
I think that if you're looking for relationships, one needs to be very careful about the Zika virus because it's sexually transmitted. It can stay in the body fluids, in the semen of the male for, they say, up to 9 months, even more.
Wow.
And tests have not been sufficiently done to know if it can stay in the vaginal fluid for an excessive length of time. So scientifically, that's still open investigations yet. So men need to be prepared that way, in that respect, and to know the sexual health of their partners as well, in terms of the Zika virus, because one of the major concerns is that the Zika virus affects pregnant women or women of pregnancy age.
Okay.
And it affects other people as well, but in a different way.
When you say pregnancy age, do you mean like women who are able to be
Childbearing.
Childbearing.
Childbearing,
Okay.
yes.
All right. Now, the word endemic. I've said this to some people
Yes.
about malaria being one of the endemic diseases. Could you give us a breakdown on what the definition of endemic is for?
Endemic simply means that it is native or prolific or very prominent in a given area. For example, Plasmodium falciparum is endemic to sub-Saharan Africa. That does not mean it is not exempt from other parts of Africa. I mean, until the 30s, until the military and the CDC, primarily the military, through the Rockefeller Foundation, eliminated malaria. Malaria was endemic in the southeastern parts of the United States,
Okay.
Mississippi, Georgia, and other countries. It's very
Now the CDC, because I remember seeing some reports, maybe a year or so ago, about the CDC experimenting with some type of virus and with mosquitoes, and then one got away. Is there any truth to that?
Well, I can't, unless I see documentations and the literature, sufficient amount of literature, and primary sources of material regarding that, I can't really comment.
Okay.
Yes. See, I have to, if I'm going to do things on a scientific basis, I have to see the literature, because then I don't want to prejudice the circumstances
Exactly.
or
Fair
the
enough.
research.
That's fair enough. Fair enough. Well, I think that there's a lot more that we can cover,
Yes.
but we're not done yet. We just wanted to, kind of take a 2-second break, and we'll come back. Listen to some good music, man, right here.
Oh, I enjoy that.
WKIR, we are broadcasting live right here with Dr. Spence-Lewis, and we're talking about why should African Americans be concerned about malaria, Zika, and we'll even talk about Ebola too. So we'll be right back in 2 seconds.
Especially the so-called millennials. So that's very important. So if you want to take it
And we're back. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for sticking with us right here on WKIR, broadcasting live here with Dr. Spence-Lewis, and we're talking about why should African Americans be concerned with malaria as we travel abroad to tropical regions. And in the interim, we were just talking about our millennials doing a lot more traveling and to tropical places, Cancun and Aruba, and even some other place, Africa.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, what should they be aware of, more aware of?
I'd like to preface my comments by saying that I know several people that have passed away because of malaria infections. I mean, many of us in the academic community know Dr. Asa Hilliard, who was a prominent educator. And he had a complication of malaria and diabetes. So it's very important that when you go to these tropical countries, so on the continent of Africa, that you have your medications in order and have extra. And so he passed away because of that. Malaria with the co-infection of diabetes. And Geronimo in Tanzania died of pneumonia as well. Oh, wow. Yes, he died.
And
I know individuals who have been affected by malaria have been very ill. I had malaria a few times.
oh, wow. And not only we're talking to our community griot and medical scientist, but a survivor too as well. So, but one thing that I think we mentioned before is a very important faction of this country, our military, going abroad. How has that affected the military?
Yes, I'm very pleased that you put that question to me because one of the concerns of the U.S. military is the health of their people abroad and when they travel. So they are allotted a great deal of finances for research. However, many of the military people, the soldiers, the servicemen, return with infectious diseases. And they think perhaps when they go for examination it's the stress. However, there are infections with malaria that can stay in your blood for years. Gametocyte stage of malaria that can stay in your blood for 5, 6, 7 years.
Oh, wow.
Even with refugees, although the U.S. government does a phenomenal job of dealing with this exodus of refugees to this country, some do pass the net, and they bring in malaria and other infectious diseases.
Wow.
So we who are interested in this, both academically and clinically, have to be very aware of these problems that have to be confronted and resolved. And above all, to have preventive education in the community, and to encourage an insight into the medical doctors who deal with refugee patients and military many people are not aware, the families are not aware that if you've been treated for malaria with certain types of medications, like, for example, methylchlorine, that can affect your central nervous system. And indeed, the British government has recommended that no longer be used for service.
Wow.
For malaria treatment.
So yeah, that.
And, excuse me, and I believe that the U.S. government, military, branch of the government has restricted the use of methylchlorine as well.
Wow. So yeah, and you know, we're kind of going back and forth with,
Yes.
you know, the malaria and Zika and Ebola. And one of the things that, you know, I know that you're real strong on is the fact that, you know, the Zika virus just so happened to hit, you know, places that are impoverished places. Speak on that.
Well, I can, from what I've examined in the literature of the state of Georgia, there are now 80 cases of Zika in Georgia.
Mm.
So therefore, there has to be an extensive amount of preventative information that is given to the community. And the best way to do that is through programs such as yours. At least one needs to start on a community level to advise people in the schools and in the universities on how to proceed with this method.
Okay. Wow. So, you know, we've been, you know, given a lot of good information, ladies and gentlemen, right here as we broadcast live on the station that keeps it real. We keep it real 99.9% of the time. We have special guests in the studio with us right here. It's broadcast live from 260 Auburn Avenue. Make sure you tell a friend to come on down and check us out. But we have the gracious and all knowledgeable Dr. Spence-Lewis in the building with us, man. And I'm so grateful to be able to be in the presence of, you know, such wisdom and knowledge, and on a subject that rarely gets touched on by mainstream media or, you know, small stream media for that matter. So, you know, I appreciate the fact that I have a big microphone and that you guys are tuning in and listening in to what we have to say. We are almost finished now, but I definitely want to, you know, find out about the black farmers, you know, situation there, export to Cuba, and that may be a side note, but you know, from malaria and whatnot. But do you know anything about the black farmers and their exports to Cuba?
I only know that historically, as with the Native American, and there's a battle now going on in South Dakota, an attempt to take the Native American lands so that they can have an oil pipeline like they did the Delta companies did in the Delta region. And this is characteristic of the African American farmers. And unfortunately, I consider one of the major concerns is that we in the African American community, the leadership have not given enough guidance, and we have not taken it upon ourselves on a community level to encourage and work with the black farmers, write to our congressmen, our representatives on the local and national level and the international level to deal with the situation.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Excuse me, and I would like to further add that the African American farmers themselves, being that they're on land, they are exposed to certain health matters that they must deal with, they're required to deal with, to have healthy farm animals and healthy animals. Because many diseases, such as leptospirosis, can...
Leptospirosis?
Yes, that's a disease that comes from small animals, such as rodents.
Ah. Is this like what could be left in their feces?
Yes, and their urine.
Okay.
So one has to be careful with in that case, with drinking water and certain other aspects where rodents are likely to leave their footprint, so to speak.
Okay. Well, you know, we're talking about malaria, Zika, and also Ebola.
Yes.
Now, what is the difference and how are they related?
My first exposure to Ebola came at a American Society of Tropical Medicine Hygiene training program that I was in for 2 days in Philadelphia. And in the course of that, I went to another conference. In the course of that, I attended another conference in which some speakers from Emory University spoke and put forward their circumstances in dealing and the sanitation matters in dealing with Ebola virus. Also, the Liberian Nurses Association, I'm in touch with them, and they went to some of the Ebola areas in Liberia, and they delivered toilets to the people, soap and hygiene products, sanitation. And one will find in these areas with malaria and Ebola and Zika, they tend to be identified or be in the poorest areas where people don't have access or to screening for the windows, to proper ventilation for air, and so this attracts the mosquitoes. Also, litter is very important. Fulton has stopped examining areas for rodent problems. So one has to be careful with litter because the larvae, mosquitoes can lay their eggs or larvae in the smallest drop of water, in a cup or a paper or a sweetie paper. So it's very important to keep your area clean from litter, to empty all pots with water, and to follow the guidelines in keeping your area clean. And so this is something that will contribute to a prevention of malaria and Ebola and some of the other problems that are identified with this infestation. And for example, in Africa, and this used to be the case in the southeastern United States, the sanitation problems, open defecation. In certain parts of Africa, there are no toilets or inadequate toilets. There's a high percentage of areas in Africa and the world that have no proper toilets.
Yeah, is that the African government, or is that some well, let me not say unseen government, but the reason why there will be in this day and time no toilets in certain areas, populated areas.
It's a combination of problems, lack of awareness.
Again.
Yes. When a people, for example, if one takes a country or a nation such as South Africa, they were so busy as a people fighting for their liberation, it was difficult to think about toilets. So all along that southern African region, Angola, Mozambique, Swaziland is an exception, but they were under such a yoke of civil war and war in general that it was difficult to think about hygiene and sanitation. We were simply trying to live.
Exactly.
So they're now emerging out of this war mentality of survival and dealing with the problems of sanitation effectively and hygiene. So it's going to take a great deal of education, ethical education, and scientific education to change the patterns. It's a matter of behavior. If you're used to urinating against the wall or defecating in a hole to survive while you're fighting a war, it's a challenge to change. And there was a refugee program whereby the refugees came from Angola, Mozambique, along those areas, and they brought with them imported malaria and other diseases that became a burden to South Africa. And they are now an excluded people, these refugees, because if the government finds them, they will put them out of the country and send them back to their respective countries. So we have to have compassion in dealing with it, but nevertheless, it must be a compassion based on a consideration for science and medicine.
Okay. And you're traveling, pretty
Yes,
soon to
yes.
Africa.
God willing, nobody got willing.
Oh yeah. And what would be some of the things that you are going to be doing or taking up in Africa on this next trip?
Yes, well, one of the things I will be doing is studying malaria, advanced stages of malaria. That's the greatest place to study. If you want to study severe malaria besides South Africa, Africa is the greatest, particularly sub-Saharan Africa, where I'll be going, is one of the greatest areas to study. 80% of the burden for malaria is in sub-Saharan. And the people are suffering greatly with that. And so I feel that I have a mission to study there. One of the clinics that I worked in while I was in Africa was, I was seeing, and it wasn't really many malaria patients, I was seeing anywhere from 80 to 100 malaria patients a day. So I got a great perspective on malaria. And not only malaria as a single entity, but in conjunction with other infections such as HIV and tuberculosis and other problems, syphilis. The two greatest killers in Africa are malaria and syphilis.
Wow.
Yes, children under 5, they get it in the mothers while their fetus form, and they don't have the treatment, so they're born deformed or blind or some of the condition that one identifies with syphilis.
And I mean, and I'm surprised to hear that. I can, maybe see some of the other things, but something as old as syphilis, and they still don't have the treatment for it.
Well, we must remember that Africa is not a state; it is a continent.
Okay.
And it's a large continent.
Yes.
Where there are villages that still haven't got access to running water and similar problems or conditions. So therefore, if they get, somebody comes to a urban area and brings back syphilis, we have a problem. And they may just think that problem is witchcraft and not realize that it is a highly contagious, damaging infection. And they may not know how to deal with it.
Now, wow, what would be? I'm just curious to know what would be some of the symptoms of malaria and syphilis.
Well, the children would have low birth weight. The mother would be anemic.
Okay.
There would be fever.
I wanted to talk about,
Yes.
anemic and anemia, and the relationship between malaria and anemia.
It depends. What happens in situations? First, I'd like to explain some of the clinical background. There is an enzyme condition called glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase, which is a deficient enzyme that 25% of Africans in Africa have, and 1 in 10 African Americans have that condition. Historically, it was like sickle cell, it was to protect against the ravages of malaria. Now, that condition can impact on these specific populations because the damage that is being done, or has been done, will give them severe form of anemia. And that's what causes it. And the malaria parasites infect the individuals, and they sequester in the vascular tissue or in the various tissues of the body. Because this is done because of malaria is a systemic infection. It just doesn't affect your big toe, it can affect your skin, you can get jaundice, it can affect your brain, you can get cerebral malaria, you can get, it can affect break down and won't have access to blood
Wow.
for the heart.
Could rupture then.
Well, many things could take place.
Mm.
But the point is, it's a systemic infection.
Mhm.
It could affect your liver, your kidneys. So we have a problem, not just in one area of the human body, but throughout the human body. So this is why it's very important when dealing with malaria to deal with it as promptly as the health authorities can, so it won't sequester throughout the human body. Parasites won't sequester.
Are there any known herbal or organic medicines or preventions that that could fight fight malaria or any of those?
At present, scientists are doing brilliant research to get a vaccine for malaria. However, there has not been sufficient breakthrough to resolve the problem of malaria, because in order to put a breakthrough into action, you have to go through different clinical stages and clinical trials. Artemisinin is something that's thousands of years old and has been used for fevers. They use that in combination with other medications. And in fact, when I was doing research at the St. Vincent Botanical Garden in the Caribbean, I came across a reference to artemisinin. That was
Artisan?
yes, that was used by the people who were working in the pirates and the military of that time in the 18th century.
Oh, okay.
So it's a very old plant.
Okay. Something probably in our ancient Egyptian culture and history.
Yes, they had malaria during that time as well. So malaria is it's a very clever little beast, that mosquito, and it's been around for millions of years, and that's why it has been possible for the malaria site to mutate, and that is to change.
See, you've actually answered my next question already.
Okay.
So
When you've been around for millions of years, you mutate and you change. The parasite can live in very cold climates, in mountain regions. It can live by the sea. It can live by rivers. It can live just about anywhere you can get
cold or hot climate.
Yes, it can live in very extreme climates, like the cockroach. It can live everywhere.
Yeah, I made a reference to myself as a cockroach.
No, don't say that.
Well, I mean, in that I outlast, just about anything. But no, I'm so glad you stopped by.
Oh, yes, I'm glad to be here.
And broke us off with some very much needed information. How can we, get in touch with you on your social media? Are there any websites that we need to go to and be aware of to get more information?
Well, there's the Facebook website, or all that information is on Facebook. And you can go to Facebook. It would be uppercase I-M space Spence-Lewis space MD, and you get information. And I'd like to say that there are many African American groups throughout Africa who are now settling in Africa. This is not a new phenomenon for African Americans to go to Africa. You have the WKIR Society, which is a member of a branch of the Baptist Church, and since 1897 they have been organized.
Oh, wow.
To bring the gospel to Africa, and in doing so, they've set up clinics and improved housing, and then other uplifting conditions for the people of Africa. So it's not a new phenomenon. Since our migration here 400 years ago, we have been petitioning to return to Africa. And if one goes to Africa, in my experience, I have seen many mature people in their 40s and 50s, and many professional people, doctors, lawyers, who are re-imaging themselves in Africa, so to speak.
Wow. So, do you ever plan to, move permanently to California?
My plans are to develop a clinic,
Mm-hmm.
and this mobile clinic is a model for other parts of Africa, and perhaps the world, who knows, but I'm starting with Africa, and I've been supported by the health system of one government, and I've been in touch with other governments, so I'm very confident. But you have to have, what is of concern to me is the energy aspect of it. Everything can't be solar energy, so I have to determine how I'm going to get my energy sources in rural areas and educate people to using sustainable energy. You cannot depend on a light bulb when you're out in the bush.
Yeah.
And maybe you have to do a suturing, a minor suture or a minor operation. So you have to be very conscientious about your sustainable energy.
Yes.
And reliable. Not only sustainable, but reliable.
Reliable. And you said something about so you can't depend solely on solar energy.
No, because solar energy has its limitations. Of course, that depends on time, but your panels, when you set up solar energy, you have to have the panels. One has to be sure that there's no theft. So there's different initiatives that one has to look at with respect to solar energy. And you have to have a way of maintaining it. You just can't put something in place and not maintain it.
Right.
And you have to educate other people in that village area to maintain those solar panels, because you may have to go to another area of the village for a few days or somewhere. So you have to educate people. So it's a matter of prevention and education.
Yes. Yes.
And solar energy, incidentally, is very popular in Africa. They have solar buses in certain parts of Africa.
Okay.
So I think with respect to Africa, in terms of solar energy, they are more progressive than the United States.
Yes, I would agree.
Very progressive.
With that along with something that Malcolm X said, how they fought for liberation, certain parts of Ghana and different places sought for liberation, much more vigorously than we do here in the United States. So
Well, they're more careful about their resources. America wastes a great deal.
yes.
I feel very guilty sometimes when I go to Africa, because I would see a shoe on the floor here in America, and you will never see an old shoe.
Right.
They will repair that shoe 3 and 4 times in Africa.
Right.
They will open a metal can and use it to stop a leak. Now, that is not to say that there are people that don't have access to higher standards of housing, and housing is a very important issue in Malaria. Nevertheless, economy is one of the key words in Africa.
Yes.
Economy.
And that would lend itself to maybe some of the poor places that are highly infected with malaria.
Yes, indeed, because when I have been to these places, we're not allowed to stay 48 hours because we have to take our own water and our own facilities, because there's no proper sanitation. So they do not encourage us to stay more than 48 hours. In one place I went to in southern Africa, we weren't allowed to go to certain places because they had no snake vaccine. Excuse me, that was in the Eritrea area near Yemen. There was no snake vaccine. So that means that was during the war. If you got bitten by a snake, you would have to be, because there was an air blockade on Eritrea, they would have to fly me to South Africa to get my snake vaccine. So the government said, the local health service said, we cannot allow you to go into certain areas because the snakes there, no joke. And they encourage you in Africa to not be fearful of snakes.
Now, I know we were talking about, malaria and a few other things, but, just about you now. Tell me about Dr. Spence-Lewis as a 12-year-old girl.
Oh my gosh. I don't know what to say. I've always loved science.
Mm-hmm.
My family was very much involved in science. As a matter of fact, some of the grandchildren, amongst which I am one, they studied engineering.
Okay.
Yes. So we're all very much involved in science. My husband was a builder. I'm a widow now, but my spouse was a builder and studied engineering in the Caribbean. So science has always been, I got my first microscope when I was about 12 years old.
Okay. Okay.
And my senior uncle told me, now you take a drop of water and put it in the microscope and you're going to see a lot of things moving. And I haven't looked back since. So I've always been interested.
Okay.
And my family has always been around people who were in the medical profession. My grandmother was a midwife, and my mother studied nursing.
Okay.
So we were all exposed to healthcare in some form or the other. And my family told me, your greatest happiness will be working in medicine in Africa, and that has been one of my greatest feeling of goodwill is working in Africa when I see those people suffering. The first case of malaria that I saw was malaria and chickenpox. Yes, in Africa. And I asked the lady, why, how did you get chickenpox? And she said that her niece, her baby niece had chickenpox, so she picked it up from her niece. So the point that I'm making is that malaria can be co-infected with many, many infections and disease. It also, with diabetes, you can have diabetes and malaria. And that can be very dangerous because mosquitoes require glucose to survive and to replicate. So that can be very, managing your glucose levels when one has malaria can be very tightrope, very hazardous.
Well, and I again thank you for spending so much time with us and giving us so much information right here on WKIR with Dr. I am Spence-Lewis. Fast forward, this being 2016. Take us to maybe 10 years from now. What do you think the state of this malaria, Ebola, and Zika?
My clinical impression of it, from the research that's being done and from the literature that I have compiled and read, is that there will be what they call foci. That is, there will be areas where you will find malaria, but it won't be a general problem.
Okay.
Because they will have come to understand the spread of malaria and other vectors for infectious diseases to such an extent that they can now focus on it through surveillance, similar to CDC. And this is going to come through prevention and educating people on a community level, because disease is not going away. We can manage it, control it, to the point where you have foci for it, like you do in certain parts of Southern Africa or Angola or even in the United States. But you will never eliminate disease.
Yeah, altogether.
Yes, because human nature and lack of knowledge.
And is it true? Well, not to say if there's any truth. Is there any truth in the fact that most diseases come from just lack of sanitation? Just quote unquote filthiness.
Human behavior. Put it that way, human behavior.
Yeah.
I won't judge anything. I'll just say human behavior. And lack of preventative insights and understanding.
Exactly. Tell us again. I know there's a website. It's cddf.org. Is that?
Yes, that's it. cddffoundation.org, and you will see that on the Facebook.
Okay. And Facebook again, ladies and gentlemen, is capital I-M, Spence-Lewis, Spence hyphenated
Yes.
Lewis, MD on Facebook.
Yes.
Go and check it out. It's a lot of good information right there. We're going to be back again with some more information, maybe another project. You never know. We're going to get some updates on the mobile medical
Yes, thank you.
situation.
And I'd like to say that it just came to Facebook attention that the CEO for Facebook is giving $3 billion to cure any disease within the next certain decade.
Wow.
So that's on there. I put that on because I thought that was interesting. He didn't say I'm giving it to cure tapeworm or guinea worm or malaria or schistosomiasis or leishmaniasis. He said I'm giving it to cure any disease, which I think gives people an open opportunity to deal with disease.
Well, go ahead, Mark Zuckerberg.
And wife, his wife is there.
And his
too.
wife, yeah.
She was
Right.
there. They just had a visit to the program.
Okay.
His Excellency, and it was very satisfactory. And from this, I think that encouraged him to do this.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say and put it out in the universe because I know how it works. Is let's get that $3 billion to the mobile medical unit and send it right over there to Africa, whatever country inside the continent of Africa that you choose, or where the Most High leads you. We want to speak that into existence.
Well, we want to. The $3 billion lighting money is for other places. It's not the money. It's the people cooperating. It's not the money alone. It's the people cooperating and working together. You can have all the money in the world, but if there's no cooperation, I'm afraid it's not going to work.
Ergo the soul. You could lose your soul.
Yes.
Well, thank you again for
Thank
spending
you.
time with us.
And as I said at the beginning, thank you for having me in your beloved space.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
doing
you.
a real great community service.
And wish to just move forward, and with proliferation of artistry and information.
Yes.
So again, Dr.
Thank
Spence,
you.
thank you for
Thank
coming
you
in,
for
and
having me.
make sure y'all go to Ustream and check us out. Go to YouTube and check us out. Also on Twitter, and all of Dr. Spence's information. We're gonna get out of here. We had a great time. Thank y'all for tuning in. This is the Mystic Maestro with Dr. Spence-Lewis, and we are out of here. We keep it real every day, all day. Thank you.
Thank you.